still responsible for that. So that was a rather pretty challenging goal, I think, for most districts. So we saw an increasing number of schools nationwide that were failing. And I believe in Nevada, the last year we did adequate yearly progress, we had something like 65% of
Second time in a row it
schools
happened in
were
the
in
last 6
some
years.
stage of
Oh,
need of
even less.
improvement. And that
It's the
was
second
pretty
time.
typical for many states. Um, it wasn't really a fair system in terms of comparing to other states because that those standards, as I said before, were highly individual, and the quality of the assessments varied.
Anything that we can do, we do
So,
want.
uh, in
Because
2010,
and people
the
will just stop.
blueprint for progress was,
So, so the only thing that we can do
I
is
guess,
just move
promoted
around.
by President Obama and Secretary
Mostly for
Duncan. And so
we
Race
can
to the Top
visit
grants,
here. How many colors of
competitive grants were
here?
available to states. And Nevada did apply for this grant. This was
24th, right? 24th.
requiring
Correct.
a plan to totally redesign your system, not only of accountability, but for teacher evaluation standards, etc., and assessments. So Governor Gibbons assembled a Blue Ribbon Task Force that did a lot of work towards this, along with the department. And we did apply, but the only Western state, I believe, that got Race to the Top funding was Hawaii. So the West was a bit out in the cold on that. However,
Okay, it's
much of the work
28.
that had been done for this application
Yeah,
was
24 and then
useful
4.
again in terms of not only pushing reform agenda in Nevada, but designing the ultimate ESEA waiver application that we put forth. So in 2011, 2012, Nevada, and I believe there may be 43 states
Yeah.
ultimately that ended up with waivers. We collaboratively designed a waiver application. We worked with districts, representatives, and stakeholders, and we designed a model that we hoped, our aspiration was that it would be useful for Nevada and reflect Nevada values. And so in 2012, in August of 2012, we were successful. Our waiver was approved. And so we've been operating under the waiver for this year will be the fourth year, I believe, 14, 15. So as you know, the reauthorization of NCLB or the ESEA Act has been stalled in Congress for some time. So in order to allow states the flexibility to design, I guess, more what we hoped were more effective systems of education, Secretary Duncan provided this flexibility. So we have to meet certain requirements. Yeah, move along. Are we controlling here, Matt?
Yeah, just
Yeah,
for right
okay.
now.
Oh, rats. Okay, so there are three principles in the waiver that we addressed, and the first principle was to adopt rigorous college and career ready academic standards, content standards, and aligned assessments. And the second principle was to redesign the accountability system. That is, rather than adequate yearly progress, we now have the Nevada School Performance Framework and a system of supports. And the third principle is the educator evaluation framework. Okay, I can do this. Okay, so right now, whoops, I did the wrong. Yeah, there, rescue me. Okay. Am I in this?
Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So here are some improvements that are in place. The College and Career Ready Standards, which we now call the Nevada Academic Content Standards, and aligned assessments. Many of your schools took the Smarter Balance field test this past year, and in grades 3 through 8, schools will take the Smarter Balance assessment as an operational model this year. Also, in high school, we have a number of new assessments. The end of course assessments will be in place. So the system of supports now focuses resource and interventions more effectively specific to school and student needs. So part of that flexibility was in the use of Title I funding. And the educator evaluation system, the aim of that system is to support improved teaching and learning through professional improvement and reporting more accurately on the effectiveness of educators rather than pass or fail. There's a trajectory of effectiveness. Okay, so I wanted to show that I wanted to, did I skip this one? Yeah, I did. Let me go back here. So these goals align to the Department of Education goals that all students will be proficient in reading by the end of third grade. All students enter high school with the skills necessary to succeed. All students graduate from high school, college, and career ready. And effective educators will serve students at all levels. And also a goal is to ensure efficient and effective use of public funds to achieve the highest return on educational investment. So that latter statement is really related to performance management. And of course, this is a system that operates as a performance system. Okay, so Nevada Academic. So looking at these principles one at a time, the college and career expectations are stated or demonstrated in the academic content standards, and ELA, the new content standards for ELA, were fully implemented in grades kindergarten through 12 for 2012-2013. And math has been a lengthier process. I would say probably we had further to go with fully implementing the new math standards. So it's expected that those will be fully implemented throughout the system in 2015-16. That is, the students graduating in 15-16 will be responsible for those. So we have new assessments, as I mentioned before. The Smarter Balanced assessments in grades 3 through 8 will be fully implemented in 14-15, and end of course examinations for high school in 14-15 as well. And if you want to do some exploration of those assessments, there I gave you a website there. Okay, so the second principle was accountability, the Nevada Accountability and System of Supports, the School Performance Framework annual reports, and as you know, they're based on multiple measures rather than just the assessment results as under adequate yearly progress. Useful information to support school performance planning, and the statewide system of supports. That's the purview of this group that is conducting the workshop today, differentiating the degree of support according to the need of the school and the special population, and aligning resources to the needs for improvement. The Educator Effectiveness Framework to assure an effective teacher and an effective administrator. Providing clear expectations for effective educators. And we are now in the second year of the validation study to assure fair and effective implementation of the system. We're moving carefully and thoroughly on this, and we want to make sure that we provide the kind of information that we need for professional development for educators, and that the training is in place and ongoing. Okay, so going forward, all right. So kind of revisiting the timeline a bit and looking at what will happen. So in 2012, we applied for the waiver and we were approved. And during the 2011 and 2013 biennium, the legislature provided further support for improvements in the system of education with new regulations that were passed. So 2012 to 14, we went through a process of monitoring Part A and Part B. We successfully passed those benchmarks. And then for 13-14, we had to apply to renew the waiver, and we were successful at that. And through 14-15, we were offered the opportunity to extend the waiver. So the difference, I think, between USED's interpretation of renewal and extension is the degree of change that they're looking for. So we are waiting right now for more information about what we will have to do to renew our waiver. And as you know, that this is subject to change because we've seen that there's been a sea change in the Congress. So we don't know how that will affect the state's waiver, but surely states are not going to want to turn back and go back to adequate yearly progress. And I doubt that the Congress would return to that mode of thinking. So states may apply for renewals. This is the latest information that we have. States may apply for renewals beyond 14-15. Some states will get a 1-year renewal, some will get a 2 and even a 4-year renewal, depending on the needs of the state for improvement. So I think one of the key differences between states that perhaps got Race to the Top money, or they began their system, changed their system of accountability and educator effectiveness early on, is they've moved to using certain information like student achievement information that we are still kind of being cautious about that. So depending on how far along states are and whether they have to change, for instance, legislation, as we know, we have a biennium system here. So if we have legislation that would need to be changed, that would take more time. So meaning more oversight by the U.S. Department of Ed. So we're waiting for the guidelines to come out. They were to be provided in mid-November, which is, I guess, technically probably Saturday. And the applications then will be due for states to submit in March of 2015 with the decisions about whether states are approved or not in June. So we know that they'll be expecting these same core concepts that guided the process of developing the ESEA waiver initially. Set a high bar for students and schools, high expectations, college and career readiness expectations, protect all students. That means attention to all our special populations, as well as the full student population, and provide flexibility to states to move forward with reform. For instance, states' designs for accountability and for educator effectiveness are highly individual. So the USED has been responsive to that individuality and pretty supportive. Okay, let's see. So here's some more guidance that they've provided to us. Focus on the process of continuous improvement. That is, we're looking at how our system is working and we're acting upon our findings to improve it. Maximizing human capital. That is more effort to streamline the coordination of personnel, departments, and external organizations at the state level. Coherence and clarity across the state's programs. Leveraging resources to meet district needs, and differentiation and targeting of services to address specific performance gaps for districts. That is, how will the state education agency support districts as they focus more specifically on the needs of schools that are struggling. And scaling up successful practices. What are we learning that's working, and how can we scale that up? So, thoughtful change takes time. This has been a very interesting process over the past several years being involved with this. The current waiver is at this website, www.doe.nv.gov, resources, NVESEA waiver. And if you have difficulty, if you want to review that and you want to contact me, please feel free to do so. Gail, I rushed on through and no questions. Okay, are there any questions?
Nobody typed in anything.
Okay.
We'll
Okay.
briefly unmute them and see if.
Let's see.
Okay.
All right. Do we have any questions for Diane at this time?
Actually, I have a question.
Oh,
Put on
okay.
here. Put on here.
Unmute.
Hi.
Hi,
Diane.
This
This is Gail.
I have a question. Do you already know what if they've added additional guidelines? Was that the slide before this? So the guidelines are the same, or you already know of the major changes?
So at a recent conference, we had the privilege of meeting with Monique Chisholm, who is now, it's a new office that, I can't remember the state support office, I believe. And so this is basically, this is all the information we have so far. We're promised those guidelines. I don't think there's going to be anything too shocking. Usually there are some general guidelines that all states have to follow, and then the department will ask for specifics in terms of what they know about Nevada's waiver and where they see that they feel we need to improve. So I don't think it'll be a big shock, and I don't think it'll be anything insurmountable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any other questions?
Hi, this is Sue.
A little technical audio difficulty there. Do we have any other questions from the committee? Okay, great. Well, you've got Diane's email address, and you can also send them through me as well if you have other questions going forward. Thanks so much, Diane.
Okay, thanks very much.
All right, so we had a few other people join us or were muted earlier, but I'd like to go back and introduce.
It's 9 o'clock.
So
Oh, wait, we have another question. Sorry.
there was another question.
Sorry, Sue Chambers just asked the question. Can you explain the process that NDE used to create the waiver? Should I go back to that?
See if you can grab her.
Hi, this is Sue. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Sue.
That's okay, since Diane's left the room. For some reason, I was muted and couldn't get through, but so you can hold that question.
Okay, great. Sue, now that you're on, do you mind introducing yourself now that we can hear you?
Sue Chambers, Title I Director of Federal Programs for Churchill County School District, and I've been dealing with Title I in different ways for about, officially about 10 years. And a fact about me is that I'm extremely young, and this may not make any sense, but I was patted on the head by Dwight D. Eisenhower when I was a child.
Nice, thank you, Sue. All right, Makeda, are you able to introduce yourself? I'm not sure if we're.
Hello,
Oh, great.
I'm Makeda Vela.
Well, go ahead.
Are you ready? Oh, hi, I'm Makeda Vela. I work for Title I here in Clark County. Been working for Title I for maybe 3 or 4 years. I'm a coordinator working with 42 schools. That's 23 elementary schools, 11 middle schools, and 8 high schools. I'm really enjoying working for Title I, and it's somehow become a passion, I guess, for me, working with the population. I did my dissertation. I conducted my study on parenting and parenting is also something that I enjoy. I am a parent. I have 2 children, and I think that, of course, parents and families are a huge part of child success. An interesting fact about me uh, would be, I mean, I'm Jamaican, so I'm Caribbean, but that's not really too interesting. I guess I'm first generation here in the United States, so that's it.
Well, we're glad to have you. Thank you.
Oh, no problem.
All right, and Lynn, are you able to introduce yourself?
She's not green.
No, we're not having great luck with the phone
Oh,
audio
they haven't
so far
entered
this
their
morning.
PIN. That's what it says. Attendee can't be muted until they enter their PIN.
All right, well, we do have Diane back in the room. The question that came from Churchill County was, can you explain the process that NDE used to create the waiver?
Yes, it was a very interesting collaborative process. We of course first we went to Washington D.C. and actually met with Secretary Duncan, and we were supported in our work by the CCSSO, which, if you know of that group, it's the Council of Chief State School Officers, but it's basically an advocacy group that provided us quite a bit of support in developing the waiver. We were provided with a roadmap by CCSSO, which helped us in terms of developing, just how to go about this task, because we were developing the 3 principles, as I've explained, and actually Nevada had, I think, especially in terms of accountability, that was quite a big challenge for us. So we had some roadmap guidelines. We worked a lot with other states. We had bright lines, I guess I would call them, from USAID in terms of what we were to address and the degree of rigor, for instance, for the standards. If states adopted the Common Core standards, then you were okay. That those were the idea that USAID had, and as you know, those Common Core standards were derived from the work of the governors across the nation. So you could either adopt those or you could develop your own standards. For accountability, for assessment, if you adopted one of the consortia assessments, Smarter, Balanced, or PARC, then you could adopt that, or you could develop your own system of assessments, which some states chose to do. And then for educator evaluation, there were certain bright lines from USAID also, that it needed to be a system that would report on a trajectory of effectiveness, a four panel trajectory, rather than just effective or non-effective. So anyway, we had certain bright lines that we had to address, or requirements to be accepted as a waiver state. And then we engaged a large community of practitioners, or I guess a community of stakeholders, and that represented Nevada System of Higher Education, various community groups, and also district representatives, district leaders, and their designees. So from that larger group, a smaller, I guess I would say pretty swift-footed core group was identified, and then together with NDE and this core group, we went through the process of developing the waiver, and it was a pretty exciting experience because we had bright lines that we had to adhere to for USAID in order to pass, to have our waiver accepted, but we also could take our knowledge of Nevada and what would work in Nevada and design our own system. So I could probably go on quite a while about this. I think I could write a book about it. But it was really, for me, I really enjoyed the process, especially getting to work with educators and representatives of different community groups from across Nevada. Did that answer your question? We are here in Russia, but you can't hear us.
Is Sue unmuted?
Yeah. Oh. Let's take her. Okay.
Sue, did that answer your
Oh, yes, thank you. I was talking along and all of a sudden realized you couldn't hear me. Yes, thank you very much. That was helpful. It was nice to know that Nevada was able to tailor the waiver to the state, and that I think is important for people to understand. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, great. Any other questions for Diane before she departs again?
I have a question.
Hi, this is Gail. I'm sorry. Wait.
Here, I'll go to yours. Can I go over here?
Yes, please
Okay.
do.
Hi, this is Gail again. I just wanted to ask Diane if they're going to go through the same process for the first waiver as they are for the renewal, choosing the committee to actually create it or update it.
Yeah. In part, this relates to the degree of, I guess, expectation that USAID has. We usually do have stakeholder engagement, probably not to the extent that we had or the length of time that we had during the first, the original waiver, creation of that waiver. So in part, it depends on what will be expected of us, but we certainly will be taking stakeholder input and engaging some stakeholder groups with, with the process. Because how do we know the system is working unless we ask the users? So I don't know what the degree of that will be, but there will be engagement with stakeholders.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have any other questions for Diane?
Okay.
All right.
Thanks,
well, thanks
a lot.
again.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for coming back.
Yeah. All right. So on that note, the COP is definitely going to have input on the waiver renewal. And that sort of brings up the question is what is this group going to do? The statute is really vague about what the responsibilities of the Committee of Practitioners are. Essentially, it's to review policy that affects students in Title I schools statewide, but it's very broad. And other states do a wide variety of things. Some do the bare minimum, meaning one time a year, we're going to review one policy. That's essentially what Nevada has done to this point. It's sort of been a meeting for its own sake. But there are others that do a whole lot more. Some groups meet as much as 6 times a year, which I'm not advocating for personally. But there are some interesting things that the committees do elsewhere. Some of those include assisting with awards, for distinguished schools, for outstanding educators. Others get more consistent reports on other policies apart from the waiver. Some of those include school improvement. They can include new assessments and their implementation to be able to provide feedback. And some is more in depth with budget reporting. Some states committees look at all of the budgets statewide. We have over $100 million in Title I funding just in Nevada. Or even, and that's in just Part A, not even including the other parts of Title I. So some groups look more in depth at those budgets and how they're being used at the district level. And others also include sort of kind of a quasi-professional development, presentations on what's happening in other districts, best practices. So any of that or none of that could be sort of what this committee does. What we know for certain is that there will be a process for giving feedback on the waiver prior to its submission. So once we get a little more detail from USAID, we'll be setting up our next meeting. So my question is to the group, what would you like to see, given all of that context, what would you like to see this group do? So that's an open question to all members of the committee. So you can type that in the box, or if you'd like to speak, and you're not in Washoe, I think we can hear everyone else. We'd be happy to open up the floor to anyone for feedback. Not all at once. The chat is just, it's going crazy here, as you can see. So much feedback.
Maybe they could email you later. Why don't you ask the second question first?
All right, Sue, I'm going to go ahead and take your mute off. All right, go ahead, Sue.
So what I understand now about the group is that we are there to give feedback, but really there's no power to make change. It's just to give feedback. So that, I think, is our main role, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. And so looking at what we're doing, I think the waiver is probably the biggest thing right now that we're doing. I also think that we're going to be seeing some changes down the road, but it will probably be too early to see that. So it's not like in the short term we have the ability to give feedback on what's coming from the federal government. It's always nice to be able to assist with Title I Distinguished Awards and feel good about looking at the programs out there that are doing good work. It's also in some cases informative. School improvement continues to be something that's going to be important as we look at the new waiver and how we're going to be affected in the future. You know, one of the things that I keep hearing politically, unfortunately, is that things are going to change dramatically, and we're going to lose Title I funding, and we're going to lose all the other funding, and all of this is going to go away. We're no longer going to have assessments. I think that's looking down the road a little bit, and we'll have to wait and see. But we want to make sure that whatever happens in the future, that we have the ability to keep in our state what's working. So I think it would be nice for this group to really know what's working, and for us to be able to have to be advocates for what's working in Nevada.
Great, thank you, Sue. I have another comment from Deanna about policy and program updates. Deanna, did you want to expand on that a little bit? You got the open mic. If you can hear me. And your phone isn't muted on your end. All right.
Sorry about the delay. This is Deanna.
Oh, no worries.
Had a few little technical difficulties. So when I look at some of the suggestions, the assist with Title I Distinguished Awards, broad policy, program updates, and Title I and federal budget reporting, it seems like the top choice and the bottom choice are pretty district specific, and with us being a really combined group, it seems like we would, in effect, to me, just my perspective, maybe it makes more sense to act like a board, like a school board, which addresses broader things rather than those specific pieces. Does that make sense? And again, I'm way new to this.
Sure. Well, and thank you for the feedback. And to that end, this group, that the last time it met was June of 2013. So most of this group is brand new to this work. So one of the other pieces I'm going to be doing is reaching out to the chairs and facilitators from other states to get a little bit more in depth on what they do beyond what's listed online. You can see there's a pretty wide gulf between the states that they're working on compliance and the states that are really using this board to help affect policy change. As Sue alluded to, well, what's working and how can we share best practices? So what I'll do beyond this, I'll be reaching out to other states, as I mentioned, and not everyone that's on the committee is here and was able to be here at this meeting. So I'll also send out a very short survey to provide a little bit more feedback to this end and give you a little bit more time to reflect on it. This was kind of sprung on you. So thank you both for your feedback. Moving forward, membership. So membership is far better than it was when I started in August, which is great. We still have a little ways to go. So when you see sort of how many open seats we have, that's based on the minimum that the federal statute requires us to have. So for instance, it refers to teachers, vocational educators, parents, plural. So we have all the representation we need from local education agencies and from private schools. We're still lacking one parent, one vocational educator, and one classroom teacher. You'll see the asterisk on parent and school administrator. We do have one committee member who can serve in either role. So we can sort of toggle as needed based on who else we recruit. Pupil services. This is one that has been sort of misinterpreted. So I went and dug into this, what the actual federal definition is. And pupil services refers specifically to counselors, psychologists, speech pathologists, professionals that are providing direct services to students that are not certified classroom teachers and are not paraprofessionals. So that's what that means, and that has typically been the most difficult to recruit for. And finally, school board members. So for folks that we have had previously, either are no longer school board members or they are no longer interested in serving. So any outreach that you're able to do in your districts or with colleagues across the state to ideally help us get to our full membership by the spring meeting would be so much appreciated. We're continuing to do outreach ourselves, but oftentimes if you already have those relationships, they may be more likely to help out than cold call from the Department of Ed, as has been my experience. So to that end, we do plan to have a spring meeting. Again, we can talk more. Well, you'll have the opportunity for feedback for how often you think this group ought to meet beyond what's required by the law. So we have a little more on the waiver timeline. We know that's going to be due in March. So more than likely it would be February, late February, early March, depending on that exact timeline. We do plan to host this in person, and that travel is paid by federal Title I money. We will have the option for you to come in remotely if you're just not able to make it logistically, but we really would like to do it, have everyone in person who's able to make it. And then, of course, if you are coming from more than 50 miles away, they're also paying for per diem. All right, so this is the moment. If there are any additional questions, comments, concerns, or my favorite, emotional outbursts, this is your opportunity for that. Again, I'll be sending out a brief survey about kind of what we're doing going forward. And of course, I'll also send this PowerPoint and the minutes once we have constructed those. So anything to add at this time? And right now, everyone is muted. If I unmute everyone, we get a really fascinating feedback sound. So you could just type in if you'd like to speak or add a comment directly to the comment box. right. Well, given that level of feedback there, we're going to go ahead and end the meeting. So, of course, if you have any other follow-up questions, please send them directly to me. Again, we'll send out the minutes, we'll send out the PowerPoint, and we'll also send out that brief survey. And beyond that, we'll look forward to seeing you all in February. So thanks so much. Oh, there is one?
Bella just said she loved the PowerPoint.
Yes, so we will definitely send that out. We'll send it all in one package. So you'll get one email that has the PowerPoint, the minutes, and the link to the survey to keep your email box.
Recording?
Yeah, we are recording. We will have the recording available. If you want to request that, we can have that available to you as well. All right. Well, thanks again, everyone. Have a great day, great holiday season, and we'll talk to you again soon.
So at the end, there was a thanks, Matt. Thanks to all. Let us know if we can help.